Hey there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. I'm thinking right now about like longevity. Right before I hit the record button on this episode here, I count down each of the outliers that joined me. And today I had a countdown that to me sounded like some old Tootsie Roll commercials. And like that, like there was like an owl that would go and they would come in and say, "Hey, how many licks till you get to the center of a Tootsie Roll?" And the owl would read it and it would go here lick and be like 1, 2, 3 crunch, right? And I think about that because like years, it's been decades since I've seen it. Like it's like old school cartoony kind of like commercials and all that. But like decades later, I still feel it. I still like play with it. And even when I'm just like having fun, bringing us into a space, it still has impact on me, you know? And I like that here because I think that also like, I want to talk about it because it's real, but I think that like it also really ties it well with where our outlier here today, Molly McKinley, really focuses on what she's really great at, like helping people stand out so much, and their businesses stand out so much that like decades later, they're still remembered in their own space. So Molly, just thank you so much for doing the work that you do. Thank you for being who you are. And thanks for saying yes to coming on to the Outliers Edge podcast. It's a pleasure to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you for thinking of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Molly, I like to start off every conversation by just sharing a bit of who you've been to me so far. We're just getting to know each other. And so I love this part because it's like even more poignant. I don't get a chance to like think about it or anything like that. I just get like what comes through. And so what I get about you, what I get about you is that actually I want to just take like a breath to actually take it in. Yeah, here we go. So what I get about you, Molly, is the word confident, and the word confidence coming in it's juxtaposed with something else, right? Um, I think this is it. Confident grace. And there's another word that's coming through. Confident grace, and the word candor is also coming through. I don't know why just yet, but this is where it is. And I think that the thing is that we're getting to know each other, but I feel a candor in the way that we're building our relationship. I feel like I trust you. You bring with you an element of like of knowing what you're doing, being willing to reinvent yourself. But in no way does it ever feel like you're lost. It's just an intentional decision. And with that, like there's a component where I'm like, I don't feel like anything's being hidden. We're just with each other. And I think that's where like the candor comes in. It's not one of those things where it's like radical candor and like I need to speak truth to the like it's not that. It's just that like we can just be real with one another. And there's a
Mm.
candidness that shows up in the conversation. So I want to just thank you for that. Whether or not that feels like it's you, I let you know like that's how I'm experiencing you right
Mm.
now.
I
And I
love
love to
it.
just play with that in this conversation here.
I think it's beautiful. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing up the way you do. Right now, I've given people an opportunity to hear how I have experienced you, and I'm excited for Outliers to also one day like share how they do. Outliers, you can comment back on this here. Like if you feel like, yeah, just let us know. Like come back and let us know like your experience of Molly by the end of this episode.
Mm.
Molly, what I would ask of you is I would love for you to give us some context. Right, this year we're going to spend a lot of time more on like the inner game that you're playing and some of the other ways that you look at your world and how you approach things. And I
Mhm.
think it's helpful to give outliers a sense of how you are an outlier out in the world right now. Do you mind sharing some of the game that you're playing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think the root of my outlierness is I am a 500-hour yoga teacher. So have studied yoga very deeply, have always been what I considered a seeker, a spiritual seeker, and have been told in the past, to dim that light because it undervalued my credibility or my intelligence. And I would say, I would completely disagree. I think that intuition and my own sort of sense of purpose and awareness and intelligence in my body and mind and spirit is actually my superpower. And so, kind of flipping that script, but really had to struggle through that for many, many years about, how much do I share? And like I'm hearing words, I'm seeing things, what is that thing? Is that just an imagination or is it a download? And honestly, I don't really care anymore. I just accept it as is, and I am grateful for receiving. So I think that that process is what makes me um, on the edge, if you will.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Molly, because I leave this question a little bit open ended, so you can go anywhere with it, and
Yes.
like you're living with what you just said, right? You
Mm.
chose to put that front and center. I'm like, give people context on who you are, and you're like, this is it. And Outliers, like I want to just like we're gonna keep exploring. You're gonna find out so much more about Molly here, because the game she's playing is actually really fun. But I like I honestly am really grateful you started there because the number of clients that I talk to that are like somewhere in the middle of our sessions are like, so I see things. I don't really tell people this, but I see things, I can
Mm.
read energy. I can like so on and so forth. Like it's way more common like than I think. Cause I'm talking to people who you just wouldn't think that would come up in conversation. And they're
Mm.
like, oh, I've been using this. Like, it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel like acceptable. So I love that you
Well,
brought that in here.
I think it's a learned skill too.
Tell me
That's the
more.
other piece of it. I don't think it's some sort of superpower like a gift that I have that other people don't. I think it's a process. And I think it's an opening, and I think it is accessed through meditation and self-work. So I actually don't think I think it's something that everybody can learn. So,
So this is super interesting. I was just having a conversation the other day on the podcast where someone said something very similar. She's like, I didn't find out until I was like 17 that like any of this stuff here was here. And
mm,
then the difference is that I just kept working at it. I kept getting better. I kept building the skill set here.
yeah.
And so like I like it's so funny. I love these kinds of things where I sometimes think like, is the universe trying to tell me something specifically? Like two
Probably.
conversations, 2 days in a
Yeah,
row, just be like, by the way, this thing that most people consider to be like ethereal is actually just a skill set that we've just been developing. Um,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like entrepreneur, like, so it's wrapped in. So because I'm getting ready to teach an entrepreneurship and innovation class at Meredith College in Raleigh, it's an all
yeah.
women's college. One of the things that, we frame this is an entrepreneurship mindset, where obstacles are opportunities, chaos, creates chaos and confusion creates clarity, right? Like it's just a matter of how you view it. But I do think creating a scaffolding and a framework for understanding like how you know we process information um, is uh, is an important skill set to learn and not to dismiss or you know I used to, as a woman, and I think this is probably true for women more so than men, but tell me I'm wrong, is that we often dismiss intuition dismiss incoming data as irrelevant instead of, and I mean, incoming data is the feeling in the gut, the tingling on the skin, all of those things that we have in our body antennas to tell us, or to work with us, I think we dismiss instead of learning how to listen well so that you can access it. I think that's the a difference that women just we for whatever reason we're just trained to not listen to it. So
Yeah, what's coming for me here is like Outliers. What I'm going to invite you to do is like listen today, right? For the next, like, as you're listening like to this episode here, and for the next 24 hours, start like tune up your body on antenna, right? Turn up
okay.
the frequency on it, turn up the volume, whatever it is out here, and
Mm.
spend the day just like listening to the different parts of you, right?
Mm.
Listening to
Beautiful.
whatever data is coming in for you, and let's not make this some like theory. Put it into action and start building that skill and start
That's
building
right.
the trust in the skill that you have on that. Molly, what would you suggest there for any outlier that wants to like just immediately put this into action and just start practicing with it right now? And anything else come
Yeah.
from you?
Like my body reads truth as tingles on my arm,
Mm.
like when I feel something that is right for me, I literally feel like a tingle up my arm. So like, one of the practices of that is even saying truth, right? Like telling yourself a truth and then telling yourself a lie, and then actually seeing if you can feel the difference on your skin. and just start practicing that until you can feel it. And again, watch the news too, and just listen, like what thing fires you up and you get the tingle, and where do you feel like a pain in your gut, and not just dismissing it, but cultivating that awareness. So,
I love this here, Molly. Thank you for bringing this in because you've given me something here, right? And I think that what you've given me is like, oh, this is discernment. So I look at mastery
okay.
as the ability to see nuance, right? Right.
Beautiful.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's all the basics, but then understanding the nuance. I can see the color blue, but like a master painter sees 16 different blues, 38
Right.
different blues. I
That's
see
right.
blue, right? And that's the difference for me.
Yeah. I
And
love
so
it.
when you talk about that and you say, "Oh, I know truth," I'm getting goosebumps right now as we talk. By the way, I don't,
Okay. So there
but
you
this
go.
this is different. This is the thing. Uh, I at this point I've played the game up to the point of like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. I can acknowledge it. I can bring it into conversation, and it's present. Like
Yes.
I presence it. But what I
Yes.
loved, one of the things that I felt was a gift that you gave me here was how you like something to the extent of I recognize truth, and my body like recognizes truth through tingling to my arm. And I had never thought about uh getting that additional distinctions around like, okay, that was a full body like goosebumps and tingling there. So
Yeah.
what was that related to? What like let me start collecting data. Let me just start noticing when that's happening and see like is there any difference between like when my right leg gives me because I'm now realizing I'm like, yeah, I don't always get like full body all in
Yeah.
experiences. It's
Yeah.
pretty hot where I'm at. Like it's not that,
That's right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just I'm grateful. Like I love being able to put this into real like in the real terms in real life.
Well, and that full body tingle for me is just absolute like, yes, that's a yes. That is, I don't know what this is or where this is going, but it's a yes. And
Mm,
that's that first question you asked me is, why, and I say, I live my life in trust. And I trust that that antenna is going to lead me in the right direction. And so that full body tingle for me is a hell yes. So.
yeah. All right, allies. This is why we bring on like the people we bring on here because we I, we know that we're multi-dimensional people, multi-talented people who have adopted that entrepreneurial mindset. But this right here is the multi-dimensional conversation, right?
Mm,
It's not just what people are saying, but like it's how we are feeling at the same
mhm,
time, right? There's
mm,
just there's just so many different ways to be in communication and conversation with each other. So, Molly, I appreciate you bringing in those sensations
mm.
as well. It's really I'll be paying attention to it for at least the rest of the day, if not like I just want to keep growing in it. I think it's really cool. I
I
think
love
it's
it.
really cool. I
So
want to keep
good.
growing
It's
it.
a practice.
Yeah.
Everything is a practice, right? It's not, again, I think that if we're really sensitive to even the language, English language, particular for that, for us, we call these things a practice because it takes effort and work, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with yoga. Like people expect, meditation to be something that you are just good at, or you can or cannot do. People usually come to the table thinking that they're going to be good at it or not good at it,
Yeah.
versus something that is a practice.
Yeah.
And that to me is most significant mindset shift that most entrepreneurs truly have is the willingness to not give up.
Nice, nice. So we'll play with this here. Outliers. I usually leave this toward the end, but we've already gotten so much from this here that I want to put this out here. Like, yeah, I am imagining right now, Alex, because given a number of conversations I have where this comes up in conversation, that many of you not only receive what is taking place right now in our conversation, but also know someone in your world who would benefit from hearing this, who would benefit from being able to trust themselves more, being able to and what their body, the data that's coming into them, being able to like start creating more nuance and entering into the practice of building a skill set that like continues to help grow your outlier abilities, right? So if there's one person right now, I'm only asking here, one person, you can keep listening to the episode. Why don't you go ahead and share this episode with them so that they get a chance to listen in and to also grow. And then y'all can, like keep growing with each other as you put in these practices and more. Because there's someone out there in your world that would really benefit from even just this part of it here. Now, the best part is the rest of this conversation is going to be even more fire. So I'm excited for that. Molly, you brought us in here with by helping us get some context on you with the 500 hours, right? I
Yep.
know that you also work in branding, so I would love for you to talk about that as well, and let us know a little bit about uh, both your journey there, and let's go straight to the end. Like, where are you now? You know,
Okay.
like what game are you playing right now? And what do you what's the game that you like to play? So I'm like, we can all play baseball, but there's an all-star level and there's like, little league,
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about like your game here, and then we'll continue on from there.
Beautiful. Yeah. So my company is called Redtail Creative, and it's been in business since 2015. So have been in and out. I mean, this business has been around for a hot minute. But the game that we're playing right now is really doubling down on our brand work. And mostly because it's the work that we love to do. And there's like different types of branding, but the work that we love to do is brand alignment. And that is the story that you're telling that, with your identity, your logo, your colors, the words aligned with the mission that you're actually on. And as a serial entrepreneur, it's really easy to go down a path with a logo, and then you outgrow it. It's just not reflective of who you are. The words that you use to describe yourself just don't connect, for lots of reasons. Whether the company has new products that they release, whether they grow through M&A, or whatever the life cycle of the business end up is. Sometimes you just outgrow a brand. And like for us, and I say us, my business partner and I, Shelly Leslie, she and I are trying to go through the exercise ourselves for our own brand, and it's nearly impossible. We just keep tripping over ourselves all the time, and have really come to the conclusion that you can't do it for yourself. It's much, much easier to hold a mirror to someone than it is to hold the mirror and take notes. So it's the reason why we're really doubling down. And we like working with companies of all sizes. Sort of the thread that unites us with our best clients is impact. We love impact leaders. We love visionary leaders. We love people who are trying to change the world in whatever way they are doing that, or making their little corner better somehow. And those are the projects that just fire us up. So
Well, you're in great shape here with impactful leaders changing the world here with us here and Outliers. I am smiling as you're talking because you again, this just comes back to like that candor part, right? Like you could have really easily positioned yourself as like, we go out and we help all these organizations do this, and left out the like one of the salient parts, which is like, because it's really hard, because we're struggling, we're also struggling to do it for ourselves. Not that we're not great at it, we're amazing at it, but it's
for
really
other
hard to bring
people.
it for other people. I actually find like that, like, so like a lot of my work is rooted in coaching, and I'm very reflective for myself. Like, people think that I'm like really, um, uh, they're like, you're very appreciative, you're very grateful for things. Well, part of the reason I do that is because like it allows me to share things with people that they may not be able to see on a regular basis, right?
Mm.
But in a very like casual, down to earth way. Like, I'm like, just so you know, like when you did this, like this made me feel amazing. And most other people in my life don't do that. So I just want to let you know
Mm.
that about you was special to me. And I think it's special about you, because we don't get a chance to see, we walk around with it, but we don't get a chance to see it. I had a conversation the other day. So I'm gonna bring this in here. Like, what's coming to me is like, Outliers. If you are feeling that you have a skill set that you're amazing at, and then you're kicking yourself for not being able to bring it back, like, and be able to apply it to yourself, like, welcome to the game. Welcome
Welcome
to
to the
welcome to
game.
life.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. This is how it is. Like I feel like we get really, really good at the things that we ourselves desire,
Mm.
hoping that we can bring it back to ourselves. But it
Mm.
really ends up benefiting others. And then, like, what I get about you is like you're candid, you're humble enough to be like, and I want to go get support. I get support figuring
Mm.
out our own things, because, well, like, why, like why wouldn't you just like kind of like say like, all right, we're just gonna figure this out here, because I feel like there's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the process, we keep spinning, right? And I think the exercise of this is, or the learning in this is, we're creating the empathy muscle of how it feels on the receiving end of our clients, of being like close, but not able to like pull it all together. And so philosophically, I believe that and this is why I love working with visionary founders and leaders, is that the answer and the truth already is. My job is to mine it from them. And we do that by a very intuitive, active listening process. And we've adapted our branding exercises from a platform developed by my friends at the Paragraph Project, where we pull cards and vision, we have vision cards, we have word cards, we have mashup cards. And that coupled with sort of our own unique sauce, we are able to really get to the heart of an issue. And we can do it for ourselves, but it's different. You can't
It's,
listen and act at the same time, right?
yeah.
And that is where the need is, right?
I think there's something about like third party perspective. Like I can go out and honestly talk to a wall or like maybe a wall, but I can say a brick because I'll consider my phone being a brick, right? I like
Yeah.
I'll record something just to get my thoughts out, and in my head it was bouncing all over. But as soon as I started saying it out loud, it became concrete in a way. And it's
Yeah.
almost as if like whatever that recording device is a third party, or from like even just trying to share it with a friend. I'm like,
Mm,
hey, by the way, here goes where we're headed. And
mm,
as I'm saying, I'm like, thank you, I got what I needed because
mm,
we went from a multiverse option to like seeing it in an externality. That's why I love bringing people together because I'm like, you
mm,
can have more conversations and you get a chance to see it and say it in a different way.
mm,
Um, but I really appreciate this component of like recognizing that like you have the skill, um, seeing that you're spinning. You like honestly, Molly, you're taking me to a conversation I had just 2 days ago, and if you don't mind, I'm going to speak to this right now,
sure. Yeah.
because it like I think it goes to, like the trust that I have in you, right? The
Mm,
approaches that you were talking about, pulling cards, listen intuitively to the story. That makes my heart sing. I'm getting the front of my body, just the front is
I
is
love
up
it.
in tingles right now. I'm gonna just keep letting you know. I'm like, I don't know what it means yet, but I'll let you know that it's happening. I'll pay attention to it. Note this for self. And it's because the conversation I had, someone was helping me. It wasn't with brand, but it was with an offer, which is like then they were trying to like kind of brand that offer.
Mhm,
And it was a struggle. It was actually a fight. Like multiple times that word came in. I was like, I feel like we're not on the same team. I feel like we're opposing each other here.
mhm,
And the process was just like, I'm a visionary founder. I know what I know intuitively. I know this, right?
mhm,
But it was different. Like you talk about mining,
mm,
man, I hear you talk about that, and like my body just like opens up because I'm like, that's it. I know it's there. I
mm.
just don't think like if the way I look at it, I'm like, if I could just tell you the answer, I wouldn't need you. I would
That's
not be
right.
paying you if I could just tell you the answer. The work is for you to extract it from me,
That's right.
probably without me knowing that it's being extracted. Because if I try and look at it, it's like a blind spot or like I don't know what it is. It's like you see something floating in your eye, you try and look at it, and you can't. It's there, it's there.
Yes.
You can't see it. So I'm just really feeling like a breath of fresh air. What comes to you when I say this to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the thing, is like this isn't like voodoo, like people have this experience all the time. Like it's on the tip of my tongue, right? We say these things all the time. Like I can almost see it. And it's not an unusual concept. But we have learned the process for pulling that out of people in a way that the room can see it. And there
Oh,
is always this magic moment that happens. And people come to us with all kinds of problems that they're trying to solve, like especially like a new product, that they've created that's not doesn't quite fit into the realm of the rest of the product line or whatever. There's lots of reasons why people come to us for branding, right? And I put that in the bucket of branding, right? Because it has to fit in a story. And to me, that's what a brand is. It's the story that we're telling. And So, but there's always this magic moment where there it is, and everyone in the room can see it. And it's beautiful when it happens. And that part, I used to in my younger days be sort of sometimes paralyzed by this fear that I was only going to be as successful as my next big idea. And, there that sort of imposter syndrome, or, like, surely I'm going to run out of ideas, or surely this, the next thing I do won't be as great, it sort of was paralyzing. And I had to do a lot of work, sifting through that, and came to the conclusion, realization that it's actually not me. There is an abundance, an infinity of creative energy that is swirling around us. And my work is to harness it. And so there isn't a lack of or a one more thing out there, right? It's just about being open enough to be able to receive it. And after I sort of came to that conclusion, all of that stress that was actually blocking my creative flow really just dissipated. So,
I love that. You even say like creative flow, and like as you're talking, I'm just thinking about like channeling that creativity. Like what like I'm imagining here, like all this creative energy out there waiting to be tapped into.
right.
And like I almost feel like you have like you're like, oh, I know how to channel that, to have that flow through me in a way
Yeah.
that it reaches people, and then so much of that energy gets transmuted into a almost a physical form. And the physical form, from what I feel, is like that brand shining through, that the people in the room feel it, know it, and see it. And it's like it was here.
Yeah.
Possibility, the potential was
Yeah.
always here, and you
Always.
transmitted it into reality. Does
Into a
that
way
like
that
sound
someone
real?
could receive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like there are, Molly, I get really excited about this because I think there's so many outliers out there. And outliers, if this is you, you can raise your hand wherever you are, like no one's looking. But like that component of like how great it would feel to just be understood and to be seen in this way, such that the whole room like gets it. I think that
Mm,
like because I think there's so much in there around like the hiding
mm,
being like I'll speak for myself. I told you when we were just coming in, I've done a lot of one-on-one work, and I'm now moving into the community work. I want to do community from the beginning. It's actually an ecosystem and a movement.
mm,
Like that's where I really play. You talk about visionary founders and leaders. I was like, that's exactly what I want. But I'm like, but I'll call them everything else because I'm like, what else? What do people need to hear so I
mm,
can get the work done? You know,
mm,
and so everything you're saying, just like it lights me up. It hits me. I think about various outliers that I've come across, some of my different clients, and how just getting to that mind out version of like their story in alignment with everything else, how
mm.
much that would free them to then go on and do the next thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
I don't want to underestimate the importance of alignment, right?
Mm,
And the image that I always see in my mind is the braiding of things, right? Which creates an almost unbreakable rope. And versus the individual like strands are easy to break, but a braid is not. And I do feel like that is sort of the intention that I set, is making sure that I see the strands that need braiding. And so that I can help them do that work. But alignment, when, and it's, again, it's the idea of a diffused light bulb bearing light, that can light a room, but a laser and a focus can cut through a wall. And when you're building, especially if you're building a business, or any kind of entrepreneurial adventure, you have it's a daunting task. You need the energy of a laser beam to be able to cut through the noise. And so that's the reason why. I mean, alignment isn't a nice to have. Alignment is a good use of your energy. So,
most definitely. one of the things for me is I realized that I'm very big on return on investment. It's funny
Mm.
because like I'm constantly smiling, and it seems like and now I'm realizing the second time this has come up in this conversation. So I'm gonna spend some time like I feel like I'm disarming,
Mm.
where it's there. It feels I would go to people and I'll say like, look, sitting on a
Oops.
chair doing nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lost you for a second. I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I actually like to look at those things as if like the universe is saying, "Hey, by the way, don't go down this path in particular," right? So it's like I'm
Okay.
like we've had so much that said your internet connection is unstable. I was like, good timing on that one here, right?
I know, right?
Uh
Trust. That's
yeah,
right.
trust in there. So what I'll say to this is that what I love about alignment is really around how like uh, the return on investment, the leverage comes in, right? So like
Mm.
I hear you with like the light bulb versus like the laser, right? Same, but very, very different. And it's like
Hmm.
the component for me comes to like how much we can be in our own personal alignment and our business alignment. And then like what I found was like I was making all these different um in my business, right?
Mm.
I'll have a master class, I'll have a podcast. Oh, I'll come out to like my this community, come over to this thing. And like they were all kind of underneath what I had considered at that time to be a brand, you know,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
like the alignment of all these things working for each other, all these things, one element pushing the next element forward, having someone enter into that space and like cutting through the noise, you know, like thinking about the
Mm.
laser in this place,
Hmm.
that level of alignment I just feel is like absolutely essential. And again, it goes back to freeing. Like every time I find something that actually fits into alignment, what ends up happening is that it makes the 99% of things that aren't aligned, it's like, great, that can just flow out. I don't have to worry about that. And I can like get a better return on every second I put into this. Every like decision I make, every project we take on, every product that comes on, every hire that we make, so on and so forth. It's not to be exclusive, but it's to be inclusive of going back to like that infinite availability of things
Mm.
that are actually in alignment.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
and it applies to everything then. I mean, for us, like once you know who you are and you have a clear picture of the vision, then you're able to define things like content pillars, like what you talk about, what you don't talk about. It's easier to say yes to things versus no. You know, a lot of women entrepreneurs I know have multiple revenue streams, right? And some of them distract and some of them attract. And so making sure that we are very, very clear about what creates a flywheel. And that adds to the iteration of the slow progress that becomes that snowball effect, where it builds versus something that actually detracts or takes away from the effort. But again, I think that process just needs to be mined, because it changes over time too. And the day you start out as a founder is different than 10 days in, 10 years in. And so it's an iterative process of making sure that you're always coming back to what is my center, and am I in alignment? So
This
it's
is fantastic. This is Molly. Thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for continuing to build the skill sets that you've been building to bring us into this space. I think we're in a good place to start wrapping up the conversation here. And I'm going to ask you four questions to bring us home. All right.
okay.
The first question is what I call an outsight, and so an outsight is something that you want to give externally to people. So what's a takeaway or a something you want outliers to walk away with from this conversation?
I think the outsight that I would have is that even if it feels like you're alone, you're not. You're really one call away, one connection away of finding somebody like this where you can um, be seen and understood, right? And I think we're just finding each other. And the stronger we are together and the more tethers we have, the more we'll be able to do, but together. But this going alone, every man for himself, I think is dated, and I don't think it's going to. I think think it's time that the next generation of collaborators find each other.
I am so with you on that. Thank you for that. So like deeply, like literally, I'm thinking about things I'm like just like that gave me more alignment. They gave me
Mm.
more alignment and Outliers. I'm hoping that you all are looking at your brand, looking at the things that you're doing, and just like giving yourself the gift of choosing to be more aligned, choosing to see what attracts versus distracts you. Just even seeing that as an opportunity, Molly,
Mm.
I think it's like it's just a huge gift. You have gifts. I want to make sure that like I know that there are outliers out there listening to this that are like I want to stay in Molly's world. Like it's I want people to well, I want to walk in the room and talk about myself and people be like, oh yeah, that is I just totally get that. So how do people continue the journey with you, Molly?
I'm definitely on LinkedIn. You can find me there. My company is Redtail Creative. And on our site, redtailcreative.com, people can sign up for our newsletter that we're going to be starting to do. And also on Facebook. So I'm a pretty open book and pretty easy to find.
All right, fantastic. All right, third question here. So we looked at the outsides here. We know how people can continue down the journey with you. I want to now move to insight. What's something that you learned about yourself? What's something that you got from this conversation here? Would be that you can share with us.
This conversation for me was just very validating that this sense that I have that there is a shift happening in business, particularly, is it's happening. And there's people like you and the outliers out there who are going to be leading the way. And people always ask, why business? Why do I think that business is the way for to shift the world? And that really goes from John Mackey's book, Conscious Capitalism. And he answers the same question by saying, well, why not? It's the way, we spend most of our day working, first of all, in our business setting with our coworkers and our colleagues. But we also touch clients, we touch, vendors. Our impact, our potential reach is much wider in work. And so I believe that, these kinds of conversations happening in the workplace, this is it, right? The veil of personal and business is gone post COVID. And so now let's just get really real with each other and get right down to it. So
Loving it, loving it. Well, we got one last one for you here, Molly, and this question I call the time capsule question. And the way it goes is that I would like for you to imagine leaving a message for yourself now that you'll listen to 10 years later, right? You have 10 more
oh
years of
gosh.
experience, you have 10 more years of alignment, so on and so forth, right? The thing here is that there's wisdom that you have right now that you want to be reminded of. So, what's that message that you want to leave for yourself here?
That is a hard one. Oh gosh. I think if I'm listening to the voice that I'm hearing, it would be that, it was you always, right? Like you're the only person who can get yourself out of bed. You were the only person, who could, do the next right thing. You were the only person who could accept failure as learning. You're the only person who could pick up the phone and make the call. And just remember and remind myself that, it's those everyday small choices that got to where I wanted to go.
Well, with that here, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time, your expertise, your experience, for your openness, for your trust, and for just like your ability to see both intuitively and like and into people and businesses in a way that helps them shine. Like Molly, I'm appreciative of you, and I'm grateful that you do what you do because the world needs it, and we do. Right? So thanks for being you.
And thanks for being you.